The men stopped talking the moment the old cowboy spoke. Dust hung in the air of the corral, glowing orange in the late afternoon sun. The bull stood inside the pen, massive and restless, its hooves cutting shallow grooves into the hard ground. It had already injured 2 men that week, one badly. Everyone there knew it wasn't just strong, it was mean. The old man stood a few steps back from the fence, hat pulled low, shoulders slightly stooped. His clothes were worn thin by years of weather and work. No horse, no rope. Nothing about him suggested he belonged there. He cleared his throat once. "Let me try the bull for food." For a moment no one reacted. Then someone laughed. A sharp, short laugh that cut through the silence like a whip crack. Another followed. Soon the sound rolled through the group. Low chuckles, shaking heads, quiet disbelief. Food. The ranch owner turned slowly and looked the old man up and down. He saw the cracked boots, the hands scarred and stiff with age, the face marked by sun and time. What he didn't see was strength, or sense. "You want to try him?" the owner said, nodding toward the bull. "For a meal?" The bull snorted, steam pushing from its nostrils. It slammed one horn against the wooden rail, testing it. The fence creaked but held. Someone muttered, "That thing nearly killed Jake." Another voice added, "He won't last 5 seconds." The old cowboy didn't react. He didn't defend himself. Didn't explain. He simply nodded once, slow and deliberate, as if he had already accepted the answer, whatever it would be. "I don't need much," he said quietly. "Just something warm." That was when the laughter turned into mockery. They laughed because they thought they were being kind by humoring him, because letting him try felt safer than arguing, because sometimes it's easier to let an old man fail than to stop him. No one noticed the way his eyes never left the bull, not even when the animal shifted its weight and locked its gaze on him. The ranch owner hesitated. He had raised cattle his whole life. He knew danger when he saw it, and something about the way the old man stood, still, patient, almost respectful, made him uneasy. "You ever worked cattle before?" he asked. The old cowboy paused, just long enough to feel intentional. "Yes," he said. That was all. No stories, no credentials, no bravado. The men exchanged glances. Someone shrugged. Someone else spat into the dirt. "Your funeral," one of them said. The gate creaked open. As the old cowboy stepped forward, the bull lowered its head. And in that moment, before the dust rose, before anyone moved, before anyone could change their mind, one question settled into the air, heavy and unavoidable. Who was this man? And why wasn't he afraid? From the fence line, the old cowboy looked smaller than he really was. That was the first thing people noticed. Not his age, not his clothes, his size. He didn't fill the space the way men usually did around cattle. He didn't spread his shoulders or puff his chest. He stood narrow, contained, like someone who had learned long ago that wasted movement was dangerous. The ranch hands watched him in silence now. The laughter had faded, replaced by a cautious curiosity. Men leaned against the rails. One folded his arms. Another shook his head slowly as if already regretting being here. The bull sensed the shift. It stopped pacing and planted its hooves wide. Its body was thick with muscle, scarred along the flank where another animal, or a man, had once failed to get out of the way in time. Its horns curved forward like hooked iron, polished smooth by use. This was not a show animal. This was a problem someone had bought and could not return. The old cowboy stepped closer to the gate. Up close, the ranch owner could see the details others missed. The way the man's boots were worn unevenly, shaped by years of walking on dirt, not pavement. The way his hands hung loose at his sides, fingers slightly curled, as if already remembering a weight that wasn't there. "You sure about this?" the owner asked again. The old man nodded once. Same as before. One of the younger hands snorted. "Hell, let him learn." Another said nothing, but his eyes stayed fixed on the bull's horns. He had seen what those horns could do. Everyone there had. The owner waved someone over. Open it slow. The latch scraped. Wood groaned. The gate shifted just enough to create a narrow opening, too small for escape, too large for comfort. The old cowboy paused at the threshold. For a moment, no one breathed. It wasn't fear that stopped him. It was assessment. The bull's stance. The angle of its head. The tension in its shoulders. The way its left hoof dug slightly deeper into the dirt than the right. The ranch owner felt a flicker of something he couldn't name. Recognition, maybe. Or the uneasy feeling you get when someone sees a thing you don't. "You got a plan, old-timer?" someone called. The cowboy didn't answer. He stepped inside. The gate closed behind him. The sound echoed louder than it should have. Inside the pen, the air felt heavier. Dust clung to skin and lungs. The bull snorted again, lower this time, and took a single step forward. Just one. A warning. The old cowboy didn't retreat. He shifted his weight slightly, aligning his feet with the grooves already cut into the dirt by the bull's pacing. His eyes tracked the animal's shoulders, not its horns. A small thing. A telling thing. One of the men frowned. "Look at that," he muttered. "He's not staring at the horns." The bull stamped. Dirt jumped. Still, the cowboy didn't move. Minutes stretched, or seconds, no one could tell. To the men watching, it looked like foolishness. A tired old man standing in a pen with an animal that had already proven it didn't care about age, experience, or pride. It looked like a mistake unfolding slowly. But there were things they didn't see. They didn't see how his breathing never changed, how his shoulders stayed low, how his eyes never blinked when the bull feinted left, then right. They didn't hear the quiet calculation behind his stillness. The ranch owner felt it again, that uneasy pull in his gut. He had seen men panic before. Panic always came with noise, shouting, sudden motion. This man had none of it. "Maybe we should," someone started. The bull cut the thought short with a sharp snort and another step forward. Now they were close. Too close. The old cowboy raised one hand, not high, not fast, just enough. The bull stopped. That was when the ranch owner straightened. No one laughed now. No one spoke, because something had shifted and they could all feel it. For the first time since the gate had closed, the question wasn't when would the old man fail. It was why hadn't he yet? And standing there, watching a bull that feared nothing, hesitate, just for a breath, they began to understand something uncomfortable. They might have misjudged the man completely. The bull had a name. Most of the men avoided saying it, as if the sound alone might summon trouble. It had earned that name the hard way, through broken rails, shattered ribs, and one ambulance ride that no one liked to talk about. 2 months earlier, a younger hand had tried to rush it. Thought speed and confidence would be enough. The bull caught him off balance and drove him into the fence so hard the board splintered. The man survived, but he never came back. Everyone understood why. Now that same animal stood a few feet from an old cowboy with no rope, no stick, no protection of any kind. Someone near the fence cleared his throat. "This ain't right." The ranch owner didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the way the old man's feet were set in the dirt. Not braced, not ready to run, balanced. "You know what that bull's done," another man said, louder now. "We should stop this." The owner hesitated. He wanted to. God help him. He wanted to. But the gate was closed, and the old cowboy hadn't asked for help. He had asked for a chance. Inside the pen, the bull circled slowly, testing angles. Its breath came heavy. The ground trembled under its weight. Each step was deliberate, threatening. The old cowboy turned with it, never crossing his feet, never losing alignment. He moved the way men move when they've learned, through pain, that panic gets you killed. One of the hands leaned forward. "How's he still standing like that?" Another replied quietly, "That's not luck." The bull feinted again, sharper this time. A sudden dip of the head, a twitch of muscle, enough to make most men flinch. The old cowboy didn't. He waited. A memory pressed against the back of his mind, uninvited. Not of bulls. Of another kind of weight. Another kind of danger. Of standing still while something larger and angrier tested you, searching for the smallest mistake. Back then, movement had meant death. Stillness had meant survival. The bull stopped circling. It lowered its head fully now. A murmur rippled through the men. This was it. Everyone knew the signs. "Get him out," someone said. "Now." The ranch owner stepped forward, hand raised, but before he could speak, the old cowboy lifted his palm again. Just a few inches, calm, controlled. The bull snorted and stamped, dirt flying. The old man took a step closer. Gasps followed. Someone cursed under their breath. What the hell is he doing? But the old cowboy wasn't thinking about the men, or the fence, or the consequences. He was listening. To the rhythm of the animal's breathing, to the tension in its shoulders, to the moment when aggression tips into uncertainty. He had felt that moment before, long ago, when men twice his size had charged forward convinced they couldn't be stopped. He remembered what had stopped them. The bull hesitated. Just for a second. That second changed everything. The ranch owner felt it in his chest. A tightening. A recognition he hadn't expected. "This man," he murmured. "He's done this kind of thing before." The bull lunged, not full force, but enough to test resolve. The old cowboy shifted barely, letting the movement pass him instead of meeting it head-on. Dust exploded around them. The sound of hooves hitting dirt echoed like thunder. The men shouted now, warnings, commands, fear stripped bare. But the old cowboy stayed silent. He had learned long ago that noise wasted breath. The bull stopped again, confused now, angry, but uncertain. The old man stood there, chest rising slow and steady, eyes locked forward, not challenging, not pleading, waiting. And for the first time since that gate had closed, the men along the fence stopped thinking about how foolish the old cowboy was. They started wondering what kind of life teaches a man to stand like that, and why someone with that kind of experience would trade it for food. The world had narrowed. Inside the pen there was no ranch, no fence, no men watching. There was only breath, weight, and time. The bull's breath came out in heavy bursts, fogging the air between them. The old cowboy matched it without thinking, slow and steady, as if the rhythm had been drilled into his body long before this moment. He had learned that rhythm somewhere else. Not on a ranch. Back then the ground hadn't been dirt. It had been hard and unforgiving, shaking under impacts that came without warning. The air had smelled of metal and smoke instead of dust and sweat. And stillness, true stillness, had been the only thing that kept a man alive when everything inside him screamed to move. The bull stamped again, closer now, too close. The old cowboy felt the vibration travel up through his boots and into his bones. He didn't step back. He let the weight pass through him, the way he had learned to let fear pass without letting it take control. Along the fence, the men watched in silence. No one spoke anymore. No one joked. Even the younger hands, the ones who had laughed first, felt something tightening in their chests. This wasn't bravery, it wasn't recklessness. It was something older, something earned. "He's waiting," one of them whispered. The ranch owner nodded. For the bull to make the mistake. Inside the pen, the old cowboy's eyes tracked the smallest details. The tension in the animal's neck. The way its right shoulder sat a fraction lower than the left. The shallow scrape of its hoof before each feint. He remembered noticing details like that before. On faces. On hands gripping weapons too tightly. On men who wanted to rush and prove something. Those men rarely lasted long. The bull lunged again, faster this time. The old cowboy moved, not away, around, just enough to let the animal's momentum betray it. Dust exploded at their feet. The sound drew a sharp intake of breath from the crowd. The bull stopped, confused now, angry, frustrated. The old man felt his heart beat once, strong, controlled. He remembered a winter long ago when food had been scarce then too, when the only thing standing between survival and collapse had been discipline, the ability to wait, to choose the right second instead of the fastest one. That lesson had cost him men, friends, a brother whose face still visited him in quiet moments. The bull shook its head violently, trying to throw off the uncertainty creeping into its instincts. The old cowboy stepped closer, not to dominate, to be seen. The men along the fence felt it immediately. The shift, the way the bull's attention sharpened not with rage but with focus. Predators understood presence. They respected it, even if they didn't submit to it. Jesus, someone murmured. He's talking to it without saying a word. The ranch owner swallowed. He had spent decades around animals. He knew when force was being applied and when something else was happening entirely. The old cowboy lifted his hand again, palm open, not a command, an offer. Another memory surfaced. A younger version of himself, standing in front of something just as dangerous, with nothing but calm and experience to hold the line. He remembered thinking then that if he survived, he would never waste that knowledge, never sell it cheap. And yet here he was, trading it for food. The bull hesitated again, longer this time. The silence stretched until it hurt. Every man watching understood something now. This wasn't about winning. It was about control, about patience, about knowing when to advance and when to let the moment come to you. The bull snorted, pawed the ground once more, and then stopped. Its head lifted slightly. The ranch owner felt a chill run through him. That bull's never backed off, he said quietly. Inside the pen, the old cowboy felt the shift too. The exact moment when the animal stopped seeing him as prey or threat and started seeing him as presence. He exhaled slowly, not in relief, in recognition, because he knew this moment, and he knew what came next. The bull broke the stillness without warning. Not a feint, not a test, a full charge. The sound came first, hooves tearing into dirt, a deep, violent rush that swallowed the air inside the pen. Dust erupted, blinding and thick. The men along the fence shouted at once, voices colliding into noise. The old cowboy didn't think. He moved, not fast, right. He stepped to the side at the last possible second, close enough to feel the heat of the bull's body pass him. The horn missed his ribs by inches, maybe less. The ground shook as the bull slammed into the fence behind him. Wood cracked. The rail bowed but held. A younger hand yelled, "He's dead." But the old cowboy was already turning. This was the moment everything depended on. The moment when most men either panicked or overcommitted. The moment when the animal expected weakness. The bull wheeled around, furious now, confused, enraged by the fact that what should have worked hadn't. The old cowboy felt the tremor in his legs. Not fear, but age reminding him it was there. He adjusted his stance, careful not to fight it. Fighting your own body was the fastest way to lose. He raised his hand again. Lower this time. The bull hesitated for half a breath. Then it lunged again. This time, the timing was wrong. The old cowboy shifted, but a fraction too late. The horn caught the edge of his jacket and tore it free. He stumbled, one boot sliding in the loose dirt. The world tilted. A collective gasp tore from the fence line. The old cowboy went down to one knee. Silence exploded into panic. "Get him out! Open the gate! Now!" The ranch owner was already running. Inside the pen, the bull loomed over the old man, breath roaring, head lowered, victory certain. This was the end it had delivered before. The old cowboy felt the dirt press into his knee. He felt the ache in his bones flare sharp and honest. He felt the years in that instant. And then, beneath it all, he felt something steadier. Resolve. He had been here before. Not with a bull, but with death close enough to smell. He didn't scramble back, didn't roll away, didn't give the animal what it expected. He stayed still. The bull hesitated. That hesitation was everything. The old cowboy looked up, straight into the animal's eyes, and exhaled slowly. He shifted his weight forward, not backward, and rose, controlled, deliberate, claiming the space inch by inch. The bull snorted, confused again. This wasn't how prey behaved. The men froze. The ranch owner stopped mid-stride. The old cowboy stood fully now, dust clinging to him, jacket torn, breath steady. He raised his palm once more, close enough now that the bull could feel his presence without touching him. No dominance, no challenge, control. The bull shook its head violently, pawed the dirt once and then stepped back. One step, then another. The sound was unmistakable, hooves retreating. A stunned silence followed. No one spoke. No one moved. The bull lowered its head, not in submission, but in uncertainty. The fight had drained out of it, replaced by something older and more cautious. The old cowboy didn't pursue, didn't press his advantage. He simply stood. When the ranch owner finally reached the gate, he didn't open it right away. He just stared. "I've never seen that," he said quietly. Inside the pen, the old cowboy turned his head slightly, not toward the men, but toward the open space beyond the fence, toward the horizon. He knew this moment too, the moment after danger passes, when the body catches up to what just happened. His knee throbbed, his chest burned, but his mind was clear. The bull stood still now, breathing hard, eyes no longer hostile. The old cowboy lowered his hand, and just like that, it was over. No one clapped. No one cheered. The men stood there in a silence that felt heavier than noise, watching the old cowboy brush the dust from his hands, as if he had just finished an ordinary chore. The bull remained still inside the pen, breathing hard, its head lowered, not beaten, not broken, just settled. The ranch owner was the first to speak. "Gate," he said quietly. Someone opened it. The old cowboy stepped out without looking back. Up close now, they could see the tremor in his knee, the tear in his jacket, the lines in his face cut deeper by exhaustion. He wasn't untouched. He had simply refused to show it while it mattered. The ranch owner held out a hand. "You okay?" The old man nodded. "I'll be fine." Food was brought out, simple, hot, more than he'd asked for. He accepted it with a small nod of thanks and sat on an overturned bucket near the fence. For a few moments he ate in silence, the way men do when they don't take meals for granted. No one interrupted him. Eventually one of the hands cleared his throat. "You ever do that kind of thing for a living?" The old cowboy finished chewing before answering. "I used to do harder things," he said. That was enough to open the door. The ranch owner pulled up another bucket and sat across from him. "Where'd you learn to stay that calm?" The old cowboy looked out toward the open land beyond the corral. The sun was dropping now, stretching long shadows across the dirt. "War," he said. The word landed softly, but it changed the air. He didn't say which one at first. He didn't need to. The men listening understood the weight of it. Eventually, he added just enough. "I was young when I learned that panic gets men killed, learned how to stand still when everything tells you to run, learned how to read what's in front of you before it decides to take your life." No medals were mentioned, no ranks, no stories of glory, just survival. One of the younger hands swallowed. "So, this wasn't your first time facing something like that?" The old cowboy shook his head. "Just a different shape." The ranch owner nodded slowly, understanding settling in. "You don't have to leave tonight." The old man looked back at him. "I wasn't planning to." The offer wasn't charity anymore. It was respect. Later, as the men drifted away and the bull was secured for the night, the ranch owner stood watching the old cowboy settle into a quiet corner of the barn. "You can stay as long as you need," he said. The old cowboy paused, then smiled faintly. "I don't need much." As darkness settled over the ranch, the bull lay down inside its pen, calm for the first time in weeks. And nearby, an old man ate a warm meal earned not by strength, but by something far rarer: experience. In the end, no one mocked him again. They didn't need to. They had seen who he was, and they would remember it.